Okay, let's talk about a tool that is seriously shaking up how teams build software. It's called Claude Design. And what it does is pretty amazing. It basically just collapses that huge gap between having a great idea, getting a prototype that works, and then having code that's ready to go. The secret sauce? It starts with your organization's unique brand. Yeah, that quote from Datadog, it really nails it. We're not talking about some tiny incremental improvement here. We're talking about taking a process that used to eat up weeks of back and forth and squishing it down into a single conversation. I know, that's a massive claim, right? So let's actually dig in and see how on earth that's possible. All right, here's the game plan. First, we'll get the big picture, what this design-to-code collapse really means. Then we'll get super practical. We'll walk through setting up your design system, prompting it real multi-screen flow, tweaking it on the fly, and then, the crucial part, handing it off to the engineers. And to wrap it all up, we'll look at a real-world IT scenario to see it in action. All right, let's jump right in. The whole reason a tool like this even exists is to solve a problem that I'm sure you know all too well. It's that messy, fragmented, honestly just painful process of getting a design from an idea into actual code. You know the drill, the endless back and forth between different tools, different teams. And this slide, wow, it just lays it all out. Look at the traditional workflow on the left. You're juggling Figma, Slack, Jira, just to get one thing done. It's so slow, and let's be honest, half the time the original idea gets totally lost in translation. But now look at the right, the Claude Design workflow. It's all in one single conversational interface. The design intent is locked in, you can make changes in real time, and the handoff is direct. It's a completely different world. Okay, so the big question, right? How do you make sure you don't just get some generic cookie-cutter AI design? Well, the answer is actually really simple, and it's the most important step. You start by teaching Claude your brand. Think of it as the bedrock. Everything you build from here on out will be based on this foundation. And you'll be happy to hear the setup is super straightforward. It's basically 4 steps. First, you just create your organization's workspace. Easy enough. Then you start uploading your brand assets. We'll get to what those can be in a second. Claude then does the heavy lifting, analyzing everything and generating a whole design system for you. You get to review it, make sure it looks right, and once you give it the thumbs up, you publish it. And boom, it's available for your entire team. And the cool part is what you can upload. I mean, we're talking code bases, like you can literally point it to your React component library, or slide decks, give it a PowerPoint, and it'll pull out your colors and fonts. You can upload logos, design files, even just regular old documents. You can even just give it a URL, and it'll capture the styles right from your website. The bottom line is the more context you feed it, the better and more on brand your results are going to be. Okay, now for the really cool part, the creative process. Once that design system is locked in, you can go from a simple thought in your head to a fully interactive mockup just by typing a sentence. It's wild. So take a look at this prompt. It's a perfect example of how to get what you want. Notice how it's not just make an app. It specifies the goal, a 4-screen mobile onboarding flow. It defines the content, walk users through core features. It even gives crucial context about the user experience. It needs to feel fast and not overwhelming. And finally, it sets the aesthetic, clean, minimal. This kind of detailed, thoughtful prompting is what gets you a fantastic result on the very first try. And this is a really important point. What Claude generates is not just a flat, static image like a JPEG. No way. It's a live, interactive HTML artifact. That means you can actually click the buttons, you can play with the menus, you can really test out the flow right then and there, inside the tool. It's a working prototype from second one. Of course, that first draft is rarely the final one, right? And this is where the real magic of Claude Design kicks in. It's all about iteration. You can refine and polish your design in real time just by talking to it. And you've got a few different ways to do this, depending on what you need. For big structural changes, you just use the main chat conversation. For something really targeted, like a single component, you can just click on it and leave an inline comment. Need to change the copy? Just edit the text right there on the canvas. And for all that visual fine-tuning, you get these awesome custom sliders for things like spacing or color adjustments. Here's a perfect example of just how fast this is. So the initial draft comes back with radio buttons, but you decided drop-down would be better. You literally just click on it and type, change this to a drop-down instead, and poof, it's instantly updated. This is that rapid feedback loop we were talking about. This is what replaces those painful week-long review cycles.
Okay, so you've prompted your design, you've iterated, and now you have a prototype you love. Awesome. But now comes the moment of truth, right? The handoff. How do you get this into the hands of your engineers without all that hard work getting, well, lost in translation? Well, the answer is something called a handoff bundle. And I need to be really clear here. This is not just a folder with some screenshots and red lines, not at all. Think of it as a complete, structured, technical blueprint. It's a data package that has everything a developer, or another AI like Claude Code, needs to hit the ground running and start building.
So what's actually in this bundle? You get the scaffolding for your React components. You get all your design tokens as CSS variables. You get a tidy zip file with all your images and icons. And get this, you even get a special prompt file that acts as an instruction manual for Claude Code, telling it the tech stack and the build order. For any developer, this is an absolute game changer. It means what they build will actually match the design you approved. All right, I know that was a lot of technical stuff, so let's make it real. Let's walk through a scenario and see how this all clicks together in the real world.
Let's imagine you've got an IT support engineer. This person is just drowning in tickets for access requests. It's a huge bottleneck for the whole company. They know a simple internal tool could solve it, but here's the thing. They're not a designer, and they're definitely not a front-end whiz. This is like the perfect use case for Claude Design. So what do? Their workflow is incredibly fast. First, they just describe the access request and approval flow in a simple prompt. Then, and this is key, they just point Claude Design to their company's existing React component library. Claude gets to work and generates a high-fidelity prototype using the company's actual pre-approved real-deal components. From there, they just export the handoff bundle, and that's it. The loop is closed. And that really brings us to the big takeaway here. When you empower people who aren't designers, like that IT engineer, to safely build on-brand, production-ready prototypes, it just makes you think, doesn't it? How many of those small, annoying internal workflow issues, the ones that are stuck in ticket queues for months, could your team now prototype and build in a single afternoon?